Hey, what's going on, guys? I've got a video for you today that I think is very, very helpful. It is my top 6 books besides the Bible. That's what's up next on Help Me Preach. I hope I don't have to convince anybody on the value of reading other things outside the Bible, but just in case I do, let me give you just a couple of reasons why you should read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People. One is because it expands your experience. Not everyone has experienced everything, and a lot of these books are from people that research and they have tons of personal experience, and they go and ask tons and tons of people their experiences, and they write them down and they distill them in books like this. And so it expands your experience. But one thing that these books, particularly as well as many other books, have done for me is they expand your outlook. They've expanded my outlook. And so I look at the world very differently, and I think very differently. And that in of itself is especially important. And just as a side note, for those that may be wondering on topics to preach on, guess what? Some of these books, because they are spiritual concepts in a lot of different ways, they've got a lot of spiritual lessons in them. And so they can either help you with illustrations or they can help you with lesson ideas. And so, just one caveat with all of this is that all wisdom is from God. We understand that. We live and move because of Him. Our sufficiency is because of Him. And so none of this is just where man has just got it figured out and God doesn't. Okay, so all of this is going to be based in God's Word. And so what you're doing with these books is basically these are wise counselors that you're going to and you're talking to and you're receiving their insight. And so there's a lot of value in that. And so another side note is that these are mostly behavioral help or mindset help. This is not my list of commentaries or my list of devotional books or anything like that. This is just things that have given me a tremendous amount of value. So, with all that being said, first up, How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book is written by Dale Carnegie. And as you can probably see on the cover, it's over 75 years old. In fact, it was written in around the 1920s to 30s, if I remember right. Maybe not quite that old. It's written by Dale Carnegie. I'll be recommending another book of his, but it is just absolute gold. It is full of a ton of biblical principles, but there are so many wonderful stories in it. And so it gives you things like how to have good relationships with people, how to connect with people, how to influence them without them getting mad at you, how to work through various problems that you go through. And so this book is just complete gold. If you have not read it, then you need to pick up a copy. It's something like less than $10 on Amazon. It's actually borderline absurd considering how much value is in it. But it's just one of those books that you have to have. And for me, all of these 6, if I read them every single year, maybe with the exception of one of them, I would be benefited. And so it is just one of those things that you pick up, you read, you get tons of value. Let me give you just one of those things that he talks about. One of the things that he values in this is connections with people. And one of the ways that you can connect with people the best is by speaking the language everybody loves to hear. And it is their name. So many people struggle with just remembering people's names. And they think, well, it's not really that important. Hi, Mr. So-and-so. And guess what? I have plenty of times where I've done the exact same thing. But as he lays out in this book, it is the sweetest language that anybody ever hears. Why? Because it's theirs. It is just personal to them. And so lots of real practical wisdom. If you're looking for something to add to your library, if you haven't read it, pick it up. Okay, second up, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Okay, so this is one of my favorite books. Again, it's by Dale Carnegie. And he had written How to Win Friends and Influence People before this. But these 2 books cover so much of our work just as human beings in general, but especially as preachers. Now, I'm sure what you're thinking, I don't worry. I don't have problems with worry. Okay? Sounds good. If you've never had a problem with worry, then you know what? You still need to read this book because it is about starting to live as well. But I had a friend of mine say that, basically, that he didn't really have a problem with worry, and I talked to him about this book multiple times. He finally picked it up, and it has been one of his favorite books that he has bought for his family. So, these books, again, are just absolute gold. And so one of the things that people struggle with, especially in churches, is burnout and worry and frustration and all that kind of thing. And so what this book does is it gives you a framework of how to go about and handle those situations. So some of it's like writing down and specifying the problem, having an attitude of gratitude, how to handle criticism, lots and lots of really practical things in that. And so pick it up, read it, as he lays out in both of these books. If you read the first 3 chapters and you get no value out of it, then just throw it away. But if you've read the first 3 chapters, you will want to read it through the end. All right, so that's my top 2. Now let's move into number 3. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now you may be saying, hold on a second, I've heard of that book. You may have not have heard of the other books, but it is absolute gold. It is by Stephen Covey. These 7 habits are basically just a framework for how to go about your life. Now, if you are interested in a condensed version of this, his son wrote a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, like for teenagers or something like that. You'll have to look it up on Amazon. But it basically narrows down the successful key principles that successful people use. Things like keeping the end in mind, or looking for a win-win in your discussions with people. So many things that are just especially valuable. And so check that book out. If you haven't read it, it's kind of a thick book, but a lot of it goes through conceptualization ideas, and so you definitely need to check it out. Number 4, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. This is by John Maxwell. John Maxwell, in many different books, is just absolute gold. I've read a couple of his, but this one is the one that is kind of like the premium book on leadership and that topic. So this is over 10 years old, and he has just got so much value. And so you really just have to pick it up and read it. But he lays out these irrefutable laws. And one of the things that he does is he defines leadership as influence. And that is just critical to understand, is that everybody has an influence. Everybody has an influence on other people. And so once we understand that, we're trying to leverage that and use that and build that. And that kind of goes back to Dale Carnegie's book about how to do that. And so he gives you Dale Carnegie gives you the practical hands-on steps. Maxwell will do that, but he also gives you a bigger spectrum and shows power of things like mentoring and that kind of thing. So check it out. It's absolutely great. All right. Now, since we are a preaching channel, we got to talk about public speaking. You'll notice the first 4 have been about relationships, leadership, mostly yourself, and that kind of thing. Now, this is speaking. This is pretty much the book you need on public speaking. There are other things that you need to know, but this is called Speak Like Churchill, Stand Like Lincoln. This was recommended to me by a friend of mine, which again is important to have. Good friends that recommend good books, right? But this again is kind of like the 21 Irrefutable Laws, except this is 21 powerful secrets of history's greatest speakers. And there's things like a power opener, a power pause, things like a power question, and every one of them has the word power in it, and he gives great uses of how they do that. And so again, one of the reasons that I like all these books is this is kind of like the Dale Carnegie book, where he goes and gets information from all over the world and condenses it down for you. That's how this is. for public speaking. And so it's absolute gold. Got to check it out, got to read it. But all of these books are ones that you're going to have to pick up and read over and over and over again because they just have that much value. All right, last up, this is probably the newest book. It is Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And so this is especially important in our world where we have so many things vying for our time and so many things that are trying to get us away from the things that are the most essential and the most important in life. And Greg McKeown does a great job of showing what actually matters and then giving you a framework so that you can figure out what matters and then how to systematically eliminate the things that are unnecessary and non-essential in your life. And so pick up that book, read it. I'm telling you, it's just going to be like the other books. He grabs a lot of other sources, a lot of reference material and that kind of thing. It's one of those books that you'll want to come back to multiple times, over and over and over again. All right, guys, so that's my top 6. Thanks for stopping in. If you like this video and you like the content, please give the video a thumbs up. If you have any book recommendations that are really important for you, why don't you put those down in the comments? Have some discussion on that. I love book recommendations, so appreciate that. And also, if you like the content and you haven't done it already, please hit the subscribe button. Again, we do videos every Monday at 11 o'clock, and I might start throwing some other stuff up here at some other points. But anyway, appreciate y'all's support, all the encouragement that I've got. We'll catch up with y'all later.